Welcome to the follow-up when we run down the week's top news. My name is Michelle Corriston. I'm the editor-in-chief of The Daily, and with me today are Joseph Diebold, campus editor, and Patrick Svitek, city editor. So let's start with our biggest story of the week, I thought, was our In Focus, which was written by Sophia Bolog. It was checking back in about the state of mental health on campus. Joseph, it's sort of a campus-y story. Do you want to start us off?
Yeah, so I think most people know the two student suicides last academic year really pushed a lot of the campus conversations in the direction of mental health problems. CAP certainly has taken steps, increased funding for 3 new counselors, and now it sort of seems like the latest trend is that some student groups and other types of student organizations are stepping in and kind of trying to fill sort of that void that maybe the professional counselors aren't totally filling. Some efforts at starting peer listening services, other types of student support groups, just so every student, even if they are taking advantage of those resources that CAPS has to offer, just feels supported on campus, feels like they have a place here.
What was really interesting to me about that story was the roadblock that these groups are facing. They're saying that they're trying to start peer listening services, but the university is telling them there are liability issues with that. So if a student went and talked to them and then later harms themselves in any way, would that group be liable? But when we interviewed President Shapiro earlier this week, he didn't seem to know much about those issues, which apparently are coming from the administration. So I'm not sure what's going on with that, but it is an interesting dilemma. Patrick, do you want to tell us more about the Harley Clark Mansion? I hear there was some news about that.
Sure. So the Human Services Committee met on Monday night and once again took up the issue of the Harley Clark Mansion. It's a lakefront property that has been generating a lot of discussion among aldermen since this summer, actually long before this summer, but it really came to a head this summer. And so basically the city's trying to determine the future of the site. Right now it houses the Evanston Arts Center. The Evanston Arts Center has said it wants to remain in the mansion. City officials say that that's probably going to require at least hundreds of thousands of dollars in repairs just to bring the mansion up to code, let alone to make whatever enhancements or improvements the Art Center wants. So the newest wrinkle is that the Illinois Department of Natural Resources is interested in the building now. They think it's an ideal spot for their new coastal management program, which is basically education conservation program. So they would house that program in the Harley Clark Mansion as well as some of their own offices. And so obviously this puts a whole new spin on the debate that the Human Services Committee is having about the Harley Clark Mansion. They have to factor in this other additional agency when they consider the future of not only the Harley Clark Mansion but the Evanston Art Center's tenancy there.
And as a refresher, can you remind our viewers what happened last time someone tried to make a bid for the property?
Sure. So over the summer, Evanston billionaire Jennifer Pritzker had made about a $1.2 million bid for the property. She wanted to turn it into a boutique hotel. There was vocal opposition to it. There was a city council meeting where I think we counted about 250 people showed up. And before they could even get to a vote, the Evanston City Council pretty much abandoned the idea, said that it was something that they had not expected when they first approached Jennifer Pritzker about the idea. And so the City Council, obviously going forward, a lot of their discussions are going to be colored and have been colored by that experience over the summer because preserving the lakefront, preserving public parkland, all very dear issues to Evanston residents.
Definitely. And Joseph, what else happened on campus this week?
So we had another story about a few classes that are piloting potential replacements for the Blackboard course management system this quarter. It was something that the university's IT committee recognized as an issue in October of 2012, and sort of that's sort of just been a slow process moving forward. But we had our story about that this week. One of the biggest things that I thought was pretty revealing was a couple of professors that we spoke to had sort of gone outside of Blackboard in previous quarters because they found its functionality lacking. Certainly, I think as students, we've all at times been frustrated by the Blackboard experience. But these professors really had very good things to say about Canvas, which is one of the new pieces of software that they're trying out. And then I believe this committee is expected to come back with a recommendation by the end of 2014, and the university will move forward from there. So certainly I think students are going to be seeing Blackboard used in their classes for a few more years, but it does seem like a system that Northwestern has been using since 1999 when it was first introduced. Probably, not too much time left at Northwestern.
Right, and what was really intriguing about that article to me was one of the sources said some high schools are using more advanced technology than Northwestern is, and it's embarrassing if people are using different systems, then come to Northwestern and have this older, clunkier
Take a
content
step
management.
backwards.
Yeah, and certainly
Yeah.
it helps, if someone's already using the program in high school and they can come and use the same software, that's obviously going to help their transition experience as well.
Right. Patrick, can you tell us more about the issue with the safe school zones that's happening in Evanston?
Sure, this is another issue that came up at the Human Services Committee on Monday night. Just as a quick refresher, Evanston aldermen and other city officials and also other school officials have been weighing this kind of proposed expansion of a school safety zone around ETHS. It would pretty much make it easier for police to charge individuals with criminal trespassing if they've been told to leave this kind of zone around ETHS and they try to re-enter it. This summer, it met some opposition when it went from the school board to city council / the Human Services Committee meeting. Some neighbors from the area said that they were concerned about the effect that the proposal would have on their civil rights. There were a lot of unanswered questions about how much freedom or how much authority police would have to arrest these people. And so what happened on Monday night was kind of at the suggestion of Alderman Jane Grover of the 7th Ward, the Human Services Committee basically tabled the proposal, said, look, here's what we have been doing to increase student safety at ETHS, here's what we are doing, here's what we can continue to do. And so basically they kind of informally plotted out a way forward without having to resort to the expansion of this school safety zone.
Right. It's interesting. Even based on our blotter that we publish every day, it seems like there are a substantial amount of incidents that happen in and around ETHS.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the neighborhoods, if you look at the numbers in and around ETHS, a lot of violent crime. I mean, if you look at some of the shooting deaths that have happened in Evanston just over the past year, most of them occur in that area. And so it's an area that the Evanston Police Department is very familiar
Right.
with.
But on the other side of the coin, I know at the end of that article we quoted a resident who lives in that area, and she was saying that, talking about that neighborhood as if it's incredibly crime-ridden isn't good for the residents because they don't believe that that neighborhood is unsafe as people have portrayed it to be. And so that was an interesting concern that I'd never thought of.
Sure. Well, there are a lot of people who have lived in the 5th Ward all of their lives. Alderman Dolores Holmes, who represents the 5th Ward, grew up in Evanston and has lived in the 5th Ward for a lot of her life. So whenever something like this is brought up in regard to the 5th Ward, there are always a lot of passionate residents to speak about it.
Yeah. That's it for this week. If you're interested in the stories we talked about, check us out online at dailynorthwestern.com, and we'll be back next week.